And this morning I want to remind you about some things that Pastor preached last Sunday, so that we remember them better, they are rooted deeper in us. And one of those things were that Jesus is solving the problem in its root. When Jesus came here on this earth, He didn't come just to have better circumstances for people and tell them that there are rights for people and other things for people that we think that they are normal in our daily lives today. That Jesus came to solve the greatest problem, the greatest tragedy in which humanity was looking at, that all people, no matter how sinful they are, or how good they try, or how much they earn karma points, or doing more good things than bad things, but all people, they were all going to perish, not only because of their sin, but just because they were born as sinners and slaves to sin. And Jesus came and He solved this once and forever. He paid the greatest price so that any person who lived before Him or during His time or after, the one who trusts in what Jesus did, so that he experiences radical changes in his life. How many of you have experienced radical change in your life? Because of Jesus. Because of Jesus Christ. And He receives all honor. He is lifted high. And maybe you had opportunity to, maybe not all people who live in the city, they can do it, to mow grass. And there are weeds that are growing, and sometimes people like them after when they bloom, but those who have grass, they don't want to see weeds. And then you can mow your grass and also dandelions. And those of you who have been doing it, you know that after where there was one dandelion, then after there will be 3 of them. And they become even stronger. And if you want to get rid of weeds, then you have to take them out with roots. No matter what kind of weeds you have in your life, and no matter what kind of problems you have in your life or in the lives of your friends or acquaintances, but Jesus is the only one who can take out this root, this death in our lives, so that we would live in victory. And I'm thinking about this point that Pastor made last time, that Jesus is solving the problem in its root, how we can apply it in our daily lives. And of course Jesus has paid for us and He has saved us, but how this point speaks to us in our daily little things. And I realize that it is that often we pay a lot of attention and we give so much effort just to deal with the consequences, but not with the problem itself, because you know that usually the problem is not a problem, but it testifies that there is a problem somewhere deeper. And sometimes we are solving just the symptoms, but we have to deal with the problem. And you can think that maybe you have a car and it needs extra oil, and maybe you leave like a black line after yourself, and you can still put more oil inside, and you can spend all your life, but maybe you just have to check, maybe there is a problem why it's not working in your car. Maybe you need to take money, but maybe you have to solve where is your money going, if you have to ask others for it. And you can also think about diets. You can choose another diet because this one didn't work, and then you choose new diet, but it's not solving that problem why you have this greed. And also in our relationships. We can ignore some conflicts and go to sleep, but then maybe someone will say something or look at you, and then you'll have even bigger problem, because we are not solving the problem in its root. We are just trying to take it further. And this is what Jesus showed us in that moment with the woman by the well. He was thirsty, and also that woman was thirsty, and she had to come and take care for her people and animals. And Jesus didn't tell her, you know, woman, you are a woman, sit down and I'll do this for you, I'll give you to drink. But he sees more. He sees further. He looks at that real problem that this woman has, and he is there, tired himself. Maybe he wanted to have some rest, and also disciples were not there. They were busy with their things. But he was not so tired that he would not touch her life, that would change her so radically that she came back and she told everyone about Jesus, and everyone came to him to see him and hear from him. And we cannot make this earth as heaven on the earth, even when we are walking in his presence and wherever we go in our families, or we can influence it positively, and we have to do it, we should do it, but still heaven on earth, we will never have it. Only one person will do it, and that's Jesus Christ. It's said in the Bible that he will come and he will have his order here. He will show how the government should work, how we should use resources in nature, and that people can live in harmony. And Jesus will do it one time. And we cannot have heaven here on earth, but we can lead people to heaven. We can be one of these people who God is using here on this earth, who are to reach those who are lost in their problems, so that we would show them way to heaven. And that's what we are called for. And I'm sure that so many problems and sins in our lives and in the lives of other people, but especially in lives of Christians, is that we don't trust Jesus completely. And I don't know about what area of our lives we can talk about, and maybe you as a parent, you don't feel well, or maybe it's financially, maybe there are some addictions or flesh things that again are then they are taking you down and you're falling again. But I believe that there's answer, that this area you have to trust it to Jesus, and you have to get complete satisfaction from Him, because until you have it, these things by flesh, they will continue and they will control you, because who the Son sets free, that person is completely free. And if you want that true freedom, it will not come from your effort. It will not come from psychologists or politicians or any people that you could trust, but it will come when you encounter the real Son, Jesus Christ, and don't be yoked in anything that is here on this earth. And the second thing that we have to remember is that Jesus was solving the problems and He was not passing them by. And it's important to understand, because we can be so taken by the first point that, Jesus was not interested in what was happening here on this earth. And this is what Pastor tried to say last Sunday, that this is not how it was. But he showed that the main problem, he was interested in the root of it, and he was also joining the lives of, he was interrupting their lives in those little things where he saw those things in their lives. But of course there are people who had needs and he was passing them by, but those who were seeking for him, those who were open and calling upon him, he stopped and he helped. And there were times where it would be enough for them to eat for him and disciples, but he saw thousands who were hungry, and he had compassion and he did something. And then when he was on the way, then for some task, people stopped him, and then he stopped and he helped them. And he was also telling about the story about the Samaritan, and sometimes we talk that we should be that way, that we would stop and help. But it's important to understand that Jesus in this story, that He is that Samaritan. We were hurt and we were broken, and Satan, he did that to us, and sin did that, but Jesus stopped to service. Individually, personally, even now He's working in our hearts, in our lives, and in the lives of those people that we are praying for, and prayer does a lot. And Jesus stopped to help, and He said, also you have to live this way how I have lived, how I prayed, how I have forsaken myself. And this is how you should do. Jesus was solving the problem. He was not passing them by. And Alvin Schmidt, professor, he said that Jesus' biblical teaching and behavior, or attitude, actions, they destroyed, it challenged everything what Roman Empire they were standing for. So Jesus, with His teaching and actions, He changed not only religious environment where there were so many traditions and God didn't approve them and they were not the right way to God, but also political environment and order which was normal back then. But Jesus spoke about things that people didn't accept. And that's why I want to say that when we will stand for what is right, when we will stand for what is holy also in this time, maybe it will look like that when we stand for what is right for God. For some people, it might seem that it's not right, but we are standing for the right things, for the holy things. We're standing for what is complete and good in God's sight. And it's interesting that everything that we take for granted now, living in the West or at any place in this world, but we see these footprints from Christians and what Jesus started and completed, everything that we take for granted and what seems good to us, it's only because Jesus' teaching touched this place and this culture. Jesus' teaching made this culture and influenced this culture, the way how He lived. And you can tell the people from the 1st and 2nd century, you can tell them about corruption or about what we are experiencing in these days, or the toilet paper that we have, or we can ask those people who start to take care of sick people or those who were outside of the society and who started charity. There are so many people who are proud when they send some donations. They are doing that because that culture was influenced by Jesus, who made the first schools and orphanages. Jesus did that, and His followers. Many of our universities, they started as Christian universities with Christian values and aims. And there are people who say that Christianity has stopped the growth of science, development of science. But Christians were those who started to understand what God is doing. And there were people who said, but why are we caring for these little things? But Christians were those who were searching and exploring what is happening in the nature and physics. And they said that this is how we can get to know God. And also when we learn these physical laws, we can also take better care of the needs of people and also to solve their problems. So let's not let those statements that are made against, that are spoken against Christians, let's not just agree, but let's see that Jesus' teaching and actions, they influence the society where we are living now. And I want to say, let's look at the events that changed the society. So, for example, abortions. Tika aizvesta mežā vai kalnos, lai tie nomirtu badā vai dzīvnieki tos saplosītu. So there were little newborn babies taken into the forest so that they would be killed. And then Jesus comes and he says, "Let children come to me." When all other people are saying, "Don't let them come to me." And Jesus said, "Let them come to me because they have God's kingdom." And of course, there is this culture now, and people don't look at them as potential living creatures, but they don't see them better than animals. But Jesus says that these little children, they are so important in God's eyes, the same as you, so let them come to me. And why are we living in this culture where there are people, where there are rights, and why do we have to take care of those who have needs? It's only because Bible says that we are created in God's image, because God's fingerprints are on our lives. And where does it come from in West? From which religion or political ideology comes this thought that we have to care for those who are in need, those who are not so successful? It comes from biblical teaching. And the second thing is, we see that this time when Jesus was living, all the other cultures, Greek and Romans, they had homosexuals and also pedophiles. And marriage was not something that they were honoring. And also women were lower than men. And also men, they were violent and they were punishing women, and those marriages were not blessed. And then Jesus comes, and in Matthew 19, he says that you will leave your mother and father, and he will join his wife, and there will be one. And also Jesus spoke about Genesis, and he was speaking about marriage. And he was speaking about the woman's role in society. And then he continues, if someone is divorcing, then he also is encouraging the wife to do the same. And then the disciples said, but this is not correct. It's hard to get married if there are such rules. And so in the result, many changes happened. And when Jesus was hanging on the cross and his mom saw that this man has died, and so no one will take care of her, and that would be really sad because there was no one who could help her. And Jesus there standing, hanging on the cross, he saw his mom, and he thought he has to do something that will change the history of humanity. And he told his disciple John, and he said, this is your mother. And after John was taking care of Jesus' mother. And what happened? In India, they stopped to burn widows because of the Christian teaching. In Africa, they stopped to kill wives only because when the husband was killed or he died. So everywhere where we go, many things that are happening which are good, it was because of the teaching of Jesus. Also because of the Roman Empire, they stopped gladiator games because they were also popular. But because of that teaching, they stopped it. The early church during the 2nd and 3rd century, they were preaching against slavery. And so during their services, slaves, they were set free. And they were worshiping God because they said they are equal in Father's sight. So Jesus, he solved the problem in the root. And with his teaching and his actions, his followers, they were doing the same what Jesus did. And they influenced the whole spheres of of this world in its history. And also there were 3 reformators. In the 19th century they were working. So this first one is William Wilberforce, and he was one of those who stopped slavery in British Empire. He died 3 days after when he heard that Parliament has approved this decision. So he gave his whole life, or a lot from his life, when he was fighting for it, so that people could live free. The second man, it's German pastor Dietrich Bonhoeffer, and he stood against Hitler and his teachings and fascism in that region. And he died when he was 39. And the last one is Martin Luther King, and he was against racism, and he started the movement of human rights. And he was shot when he was 39. So Christians and pastors, these are not the only men, but God has used so many people to bring changes in the society, to solve real problems that are there. And I believe that now we believe for people in our church who are in different levels and they are solving problems where there should be changes, where it could be better, where there are biblical standards. But what we should understand is that these men, Christians and pastors, it was their calling. Jesus' calling was to come here and give his life for people. And these men, they responded. They were risking their lives. But what their churches were doing, what those churches were doing, churches were preaching gospel. Churches were preaching gospel. And of course, there are things that we have to stand for, and God is doing us specific callings during this time. Some problems that we have to solve where we can be a blessing, but still, all of us together, what is uniting us is that this gospel should be preached. There are people who are around us who are perishing. They have to hear the gospel. They have to respond to it. People who are not accepting Christian teaching is because they are living in a place where because of the Christian teaching they can think independently. And that's why we have to understand that Jesus has changed things radically, and we still have this same duty. But when we are thinking about these reformators, revolutionists, that changed these things together with people who thought the same, I was questioning what could solve the problems in Latvia. And all of us, we know that Latvia has a lot of problems, but you can go to any country, and if you think that there's something, that everything is good there, then you can ask people who live there and that they have their challenges, then you will realize that they also have problems. And sometimes you can look at church or some family and you can think that everything is all right, but when you will get to know them, you will see that they also have problems that they are solving. And I thought, what could be a solution for our society? And I wanted to show or imagine what would it look like when we would see the changes when prayers would be answered. That all of the politicians would be in their churches. And that would seem that like we have had victory, or that in the parliament that people would start, that they would start their day with a prayer. And in other institutions in the parliament, we would see that there would not be portraits of dead people, but that there would be 10 commandments. Or then we could go to the schools and we would see that again there would be Christian teaching everywhere. During the breaks, there would be prayers. Let's go further. So there would be no alcohol, no cigarettes, no loans, no casinos. Your heart starts to beat faster, so this is what we want. But would it change the problems of our society? Would it change? It would not change. If that comes compulsory, then those people who were raised in the church, we can see what happens to them after. Then they go and live in the world. What we want and what we are believing for is that hearts are changed. We have to believe for hearts that are changed. Not on the outside, the traditions are changed, which would also be good. For the Christian, it would be awesome. But if hearts are not changed, then that would be only a theater. Our goal is that hearts are changed. Some time ago, I saw a testimony where there was a Muslim who was speaking from Palestine, and he was speaking about things, how he was raised, that he was hating Israel, and he was ready to kill them. He was ready to give his life to kill Jews. And he was speaking about this hatred that he had. And then he came to that conflict, which is in the East. And he said, in the Middle East, he said the only thing that can solve this conflict is that these people meet Messiah. Only that. That's in the root. Only when they encounter Messiah, changed heart. If those who are living in Israel, those who are waiting for Messiah, and many of them, they don't care about Messiah, but when they will encounter him, that will bring change. Those who live in Gaza and around that place, those who hate this nation, if they will meet Jesus, that's the only thing that can change their hearts. And we know so many testimonies. Encounter with Jesus changes their hearts. And this is our goal, not only to look that we have a Christian society, but that we reach society in its heart, at schools, at workplaces, so that they encounter Jesus, that change happens on the inside of them. And that is our dream. That's our goal, what we are praying for. And I have thought about those conflicts that are rising up in the world, and also here in Latvia, among Christians, among churches. There are so many people who have been are overwhelmed by some little things, and maybe you have this view or that view. You can think that our team played good during the hockey, and some people can think that vaccines are good or bad, but it's like secondary. But there are things that are uniting us, which are more important. And isn't it that God has created us with desire to change things and to stand for right things, and when we lose clear goal, when we find other things, when we are not looking at that main goal, then that energy that we could use in a biblical way, then we start to use that energy in a destructive way, and we are starting to look at faults of other people. Maybe that person can lift their hands, or the other person has or doesn't have a mask, and then we start to find among each other because we have forgotten about the main goal, where we should give our energy. And we can see that in the world, but during these last years we can see in USA. When I was little, then people were speaking about USA, that this is a place of opportunity, you can start your business and you can go there, and many people were trying together, but that was not the only thing what was tempting people. But when we saw those people, and those who were walking with their USA flags on their cars and their t-shirts, and they were so proud about their nation, and also what they did during the Second World War, and also fighting for human rights. And we were looking that USA has done so many good things, but during these last years we see that USA is so divided as any other country. There are so many divisions, and all this good energy that they had before, and they were doing good things, now they are using this energy. These companies, organizations are using this energy to fight against each other. And imagine if there were people, those who were fighting against racism also in Europe or in USA, and then one day he says, yeah, we have racists in our land because there is evil and we will not get rid of all the problems, but racism has stopped. We're living as brothers. Then he would have any work. They would lose some resources how they could control people. And then there are people who are fighting for women's rights. And imagine if they said that here in Latvia, women, they are equal to men. Men, they cannot give birth, but women, they can be sportists and leaders, and they can be presidents. We are equal. Again, we will lose something. And that's why here and there are people who are trying us to fight against each other. And we shouldn't allow it. We should protect unity. And that is also what we have in the church. And in Proverbs 29 it said, where there is no vision, the people perish. In our Bible it says, where there is no revelation. And that speaks when we lose vision, we start to do things that we shouldn't do. When we lose clear vision what we should do in this world, while we are here on this earth, while Jesus hasn't come back, we should reach the world. And we are using this energy and we become wild and disobedient, and we can see that all around. Jesus is the way to the Father. But today I want to ask you a question. Who will show that way to the people? He is the way, but who will show the way? Who will show the way? And Apostle Paul says in Romans 10 that those who call upon His name, they will be saved. But how can they call upon? How can they believe if they haven't heard? Our responsibility is to preach the gospel, to show love. And that's why today I was thinking, isn't it that we are so busy with the protection of our soul to go to the eternity that we have burned bridges with people who need encounter with Jesus. This is the reason why so many new young believers, they bring so many people to God. It's just because they are in that environment where there are people who also need that, and they are bringing them. It's the same with this Samaritan, this woman, that she took all her village to Jesus. People need encounter with Jesus. They need their hearts to be changed. And let me ask you, how can we help homosexuals? One option, some people have been thinking about it, but we can say that homosexual relationships are sin, and we can help to change those views, but that will only make their lives look beautiful. It will not solve the problem. This person needs encounter with Jesus. Oh, you are living in homosexual relationships. You have to know that Jesus loves you, and you have to encounter Him. How we can help drug addicts, or those who are addicted from games, and how can we help them? They need Jesus, and Jesus is the answer. Jesus will solve the problem in its root. We can show them how Jesus loves, how we have fallen, but we are loved by Him. And I believe that today Jesus is asking us to come and build bridges again with the people who need salvation, those who need to encounter Savior, those who are in depression, those who are sick, they need Jesus. Jesus is their answer. Jesus is the way, truth, and the life. He is the one who sets free. He is the one who fulfills people's lives with strength. And I believe that today we haven't burned all the bridges with people who are outside of the church. But of course, when Christian comes to God, and then there are people who want to take him back, who are in the world, and it's good that for the first time you are not with your friends that you had before. But we shouldn't be away from people in the world so that they don't take our salvation away. But God has called us to go and shine, and He has put us in this place so that we take His light and that we shine and that we bring gospel there, that we show His love to people who need this love so much, this broken world. And in Isaiah 58, once I've shared this verse, but again, I want to read this in a more wider context and let it speak to you today. So in Isaiah 58, verse 10, it said, "And if thou draw out thy soul to the hungry and satisfy the afflicted soul, then shall thy light rise in obscurity and thy darkness be as the noonday." And listen about the promise for today. "And the Lord shall guide thee continually and satisfy thy soul in drought and make fat thy bones, and thou shalt be like a watered garden and like spring of water whose waters fail not. And they that shall be of thee shall build the old waste places. Thou shalt rise up the foundations of many generations, and thou shalt be called the repairer of the breach, the restorer of paths to dwell in." God is giving us promises that when we will look above our desires, feelings, interests, and we will see people who God has shown us during this week, and maybe we will meet them by accident, but when you will take care that you give time and that you humble yourself and that you tell your testimony, you preach the gospel, even if you will feel empty or maybe you will have hard times in your life. But He says that I will help you and I will bless you. And you will see that when you give, you will have more. And also, it can be a challenge that if you have like some hard times in any area of your life, make a decision that you will be light, that you will preach the gospel, that you want to destroy the deeds of devil, and you want to set people free. And you will see that something that you have believed for, it will come as a secondary thing in your life. After the First and Second World War, in all the world, but especially in USA, they were so tired of cars and all those shedding of blood and all those things that seem that we want to live good, but there is so much evil in the world. And in the United States, this hippie movement started. And hippie movement, we can describe it in different ways. But one of the things that was describing is that it's rebellion against the order. So all the values that were before holding the whole society in some boundaries and order, they said, we don't need that, we don't want to accept anything from it, we just want to show peace, we want to have love, and that's it. And in the result, so many people, they left their values, their families, and they had so many things about those times, and also it influenced Soviet times. And what happened, that many people went away from church and didn't see any connection with church, and also that message that was preached in the church, and also that message from the church, how it could relate to people who they were spending time with. And that happened really radically. And in the 1966 in magazine Times there was this picture and there was a question. You have heard about this question, and the question was, is God dead? Because the people were leaving churches. Is God dead? Is it over? Is this Christianity going to die? But then, short time after, there were Christians who were praying and they saw what is happening in the society. They started to pray and they started to realize that they can do things differently. And they called them Jesus people. And those hippies that they wanted to reach, hippies were showing peace, then Jesus people, they were showing one way. And you know, we have 3M, but we also have one way. And they were living with this burden. How again we can reach these people, how we can connect with this society and show them that Jesus is not some old man who died, but he is alive today and his name is saving today. And they started to walk with this burden in their heart. And this Jesus People movement, which is also called Jesus Revolution. And then 5 years after, when this question was asked, this same magazine showed Jesus in a hippie way, and they said, Jesus Revolution. Jesus Revolution. In 5 years, this magazine was exactly 50 years ago in June. So exactly 50 years ago. Maybe today again we have to become Jesus people. One way. One way. One way. What did they start to do? They were looking for new ways how to present gospel to their society, seeing what their heart is burning for. They started to print out Gospels on the leaflets and they were giving them out at the beach and on the streets, and they were just saying, God loves you, God loves you. And they were inviting people for concerts, events that before it wasn't popular in the Christian world. And thousands started to come. They were preaching in the cafes. It was forbidden, but they couldn't think of something like that happening in those places, but they did it. And before they were singing only hymns in the churches, but these Christians, they were reading Bible and they said, we don't see that in the Bible that these instruments with strings, that they are bad and they are from devil. So they started to write new songs and play new music that would reach those people in that society, and thousands were coming. And some of them were saying that during this time there hasn't been such movement that has shaken so many people. What were those Christians doing during these tough times when it seemed that these people were so divided and they didn't want to hear anything about religion or Christ or God that they knew before? They started to build bridges, to look for new ways to their society, to people that were living together. Let me sing you a song. Let me tell you that I was an addict and what Jesus did in my life. Let me tell you how Jesus has influenced the world. Let me tell you about the place where I was. If you want to celebrate, let's go and celebrate Jesus. We as the church, we have decided to do anything that is not sin to reach out. And that's how we will work in our office to create resources, how to reach our society. But God is inviting us to rise up and be Jesus people in the 21st century. After 50 years, it's time in Latvia to start, for this movement to start. There is only one way. And that is our prayer. Father, help us to find those ways and bridges, and if they're broken, let us build them again, so that we are not saved and we are happy about our salvation, but let us pass it